I used to worry when I was a Christian, because I know that it's not because of Christianity, but it's just the nature of our Western culture and society. When a person gets old, we basically got done with them. We don't need you anymore. Old man, hit the road. Even kids today, when they get to 18 or 20, 21 like that, they're like, hey, I dealt with you all those years. Get out of my face. They talk like that. But Muslims don't do that. In fact, the older you get, the more honor and respect you get. Even when you do the crazy things that old guys do, you know what I'm saying? I don't have to tell you. But, subhanAllah, you get so much respect and honor, and the Muslims don't want to throw you away. They don't want to dump you off in an old folks' home and just leave you to rot. They take care of you right up to the very end. And it was my father who came to Islam after I did, and then he realized the benefit too, because he used to always worry, well, will I stay, will I have a nice place? And he used to spend his life in investing in property and real estate to be sure when I get older I'm going to have a good place and people around take care of me. I'll have the money to pay for this and pay for that. And he lost all of it. He didn't have anything, and he was losing his mind. But in those days, after he came to Islam, he started losing his, his ability to remember things. You say something, he'd say, what? I didn't say that. You said no. And he could remember, like, for instance, even till he died, he remembered me. He would see me enter the room, and he would say, oh, you came to see me. Well, now, the room he was in was my house. And I'd say, yes, Dad. And I'd go out of the room and do something. I'd come back in. Oh, you came to see me. So that's the condition that he wound up in. But we took care of him. And I say we because my wife and daughters really did all the work. They literally took care of him like you would a baby. They did everything for him. And do you know something? It's really beautiful, because I was at the computer one time sitting there typing away, as I do all the time. And I could hear my daughters raising their voices out in the kitchen. It's your turn to do the dishes. It's your turn. I did them last night. You're supposed to do them last night because you didn't do them for 2 days in a row. Because it's your turn, and it's no, it's not. Yes, it is. No, it's not. And I said, oh, God, I'm getting a headache. And I started walking over to the kitchen doors. It's those kind of, like, what do you call those folding things that pop back and forth. And I get over there, and just as I got to the door, I said, if I walk in there, as soon as they see me, they're going to say, Assalamu alaikum, Daddy. And I'm going to say, wa alaikum salam, what's going on? And they're going to say, nothing. Am I right? That's typical. That's what's going to happen. So why bother? And I just let them go on, and they're making all the racket. And I said, I looked over at my dad. He was sitting there rocking in his chair, and I thought, how many times did my dad hear that from us? How many times did he put up with us kids? And, and my mom too, for that matter. I walked over to my dad. It's not in our culture, our habit, but I've seen Muslims do it. I leaned down to him, and I kissed him on the forehead, and I said, Dad, I love you. And he said, I love you. I looked at me kind of startled, and I went back and sat down and went back at it. No, it got quiet. It got quiet in the kitchen. I guess they worked it out, huh? And then after a while, the door opened, and I heard footsteps coming toward me, right up behind me. And as I turned around, my daughter leaned down and kissed me in the same place I just kissed my father. And she said, Dad, I love you. And she walked off and left me not knowing how I was crying, tears running down my face. And then in a little while, the other one finished up the dishes, and she came out and walked that same path, made the bead straight over to me, and kissed me again in the same exact place. Neither one of them knew I did that. And she said, Dad, I love you. And that was a sign from Allah to me to recognize the value of taking care of your parents. And this is the teaching in Islam. The clear teaching in Islam. It's just not honor your parents, but it is to really serve your parents. And this is what Islam teaches us to do. Alhamdulillah.